coming to visit today. Please introduce yourself.
Wonderful. My name is Marissa Juhler, and I am the Division Director at the Yolo County Central Landfill.
What kind of things would you like about your job? Like, what's the most entertaining kind of fun thing to do?
Entertaining. I like that question. I actually love everything about my job. I don't know there's much not to like, but I think it's the environmental education aspect, is that you can really make a positive change every day. The Yolo County Central Landfill is pretty unique. We don't just bury waste. We try to recover as much as possible. So every day we're looking at new things that we can do, whether it is operating our compost facility or separating out things for the thrift store. There's just always something new and exciting, and people come and say, what do I do with this? And then we have a solution for them. And so that's a really engaging moment to help educate them that it doesn't have to go in the landfill.
Are there any companies that dump anything?
Yeah, I mean, we have a very wide variety. So we have anything from a residential household to large businesses. So this could be a contractor that builds houses. We get hospital waste. Different types of businesses come to us. We get all of the waste here from your school. We'll also get waste from large distribution centers. It can really be eye-opening to come out to the landfill and just sit there for a half hour and see how much waste there is. You know, I always feel like Davis is always at the top of their game with taking care of the environment and recycling. But when you sit at the top of the landfill and you watch all of the different companies come in and dump their waste, you'll see cardboard thrown away, wood pallets, food waste, all stuff that has a program right there on our site. And sometimes I think it has to do with education, but I think it also has to do with being motivated enough, right, to say, I care enough about the planet that I'm going to take the extra 5 minutes to remove the styrofoam out of my cardboard box so that I can recycle the cardboard. We will get large companies that will bring a 53-foot semi-truckload filled with cardboard and styrofoam inside, and they just didn't want to recycle the materials. They didn't want to separate them out, and so the whole thing gets buried. And so there is always work to be done.
Well, what happens to the plastic? How do you mess with that? Get that work?
Yeah, so there's different types of plastics that we see. So if it is your plastic water bottle or it's a shampoo bottle that goes into your can at home, that of course is going over to Recology's MRF, which is a material recovery facility. It's here on 2nd Street. So those don't come to the landfill. But the rest of the plastics that are out there, we get a lot of agricultural plastics because Yolo County is agriculturally based. So we will get drip tape from all the farms. We get pesticide containers. One of the biggest plastics projects we're working on is reducing plastic waste in electronics, because we processed over 900,000 pounds of electronics last year, which are all encased in plastic. And then the second one is getting plastics out of compost. So we've kicked off this new organics program, and you're supposed to put your food in your food soiled paper. But it really is meant for paper-based products to end up in the compost. And we're still seeing people bagging their food in plastic bags, and then we have to sort that out. So there are actual workers on the sort line pulling that out. Oh. Some people have a misperception of what yard waste is, so they might throw a plastic garden hose in the organic bin, but that's not what is, a garden hose won't compost and turn into soil. And so we have a lot of issues with plastics, and so it's just trying to figure out how to get them out of our environment. We are working on a cool project with the California Product Stewardship Council and the state, which would to make all the caps on our water bottles attached. So right now you unscrew them and then you have this cap, and a lot of those caps end up in our waterway and out on beaches. And so if you go to Europe, for example, when you get that same water bottle, it has a little connector. So you open it and it stays attached to the bottle. You can still drink it, but then it never falls off. So there's ways to reduce plastic, contamination. And so we have to work on more laws to help with it.
Yeah. I think I've seen some of those before when I've gone to the... do you think, an average person, how much waste and kind of things that could be used, how much of that do you think they would throw away, average?
Well, right now our average is 5 pounds of trash per person per day. So if you think about how many students are at this school, you could do like a little math assignment, right? How many students are at Patwin times 5 pounds per person times 365 days in a year. You could very easily do the math to see how much garbage there is out there.
Mm.
But if we do a better job at reducing, recycling, composting, we really can get to about only 25% of it really being garbage, right? Most everything should be able to go in those other bins. And so sometimes it's about finding, we do some campaigns with schools where you pick a product and say, this is not recyclable. This one is. If you're going to buy a juice of some sort, we don't have a program for Capri Sun recycling pouches, but we can now recycle juice boxes, right? So if you're at the store and you're like, hey, mom, dad, whoever's doing the grocery shopping, can you please buy the juice boxes going forward so that we can recycle them versus buying something that you know will have to end up in the trash? Then you're changing behavior, right? And that's how you start making the difference.
What do you think like an average person could do to help cut down on the waste that they put out?
Oh, I think it's going back to reuse, right? Is like, what can we do? Do we have to buy the single-use water bottles, soda cans, juices every time, or can you buy the big jug and refill one of your refillables, right? Like a glass container or a metal container. That is huge. Advocating in your community to put in like water refill stations. So I don't know if you guys have one here, but I think you guys do. But like even in parks, right? City parks getting those, or a community building, or, you know, other places where you guys as students hang out. If you don't have the ability to refill a water bottle, a lot of times, right, you might be at a soccer tournament, everybody brings all these disposables, right? And I was at a soccer tournament this weekend. No, it never even made it to the recycling bin. Some people left them on the side of the soccer fields, right? And it was like, we have so much work to do. But if we had a place to do those refill stations, so that's like an easy one. Yeah.
Oh, so what kind of things do you usually like see like come into like people want to buy
at our thrift store?
Yeah.
So we have the Big Blue Barn thrift store, and we have a lot of folks. Like our number one selling product is like tools and hardware. Maybe that our audience, a lot of the people that come to the landfill to get rid of material, are small contractors, right? It's that kind of audience. So we get a lot of tools, and that includes things in the category of like lumber and doors and windows. So we track everything in our cash registers to see like what is the best selling item. And so that is always by far the biggest one. So this would be like a hand drill, right? Or a saw or a bucket of nails, right? Like there's all kinds of things that fit in that category. And then from there, probably the next best selling thing is electronics. So people love the electronics. And then we have a general category, which is called household. And so that can be anything from cups and plates, and you know, housewares. You can buy a coffee pot, or, you know, some type of fun kitchen gadget, a waffle maker. And so those sell really, really cheap. Everything's the same price. So it's like $5 for any kitchen gadget. And a lot of times people just, you know, they want to try something new, but they don't want to put out, you know, $50 or $80. They can come and say like, let me try my waffle maker for $5, and then they'll know if they like it, right? And then they've done something good. They didn't go and buy a new one. They've used something that someone no longer wanted.
Like in other communities, do you think they have like little systems similar to this?
Not all of them. So the Yolo County Central Landfill is very unique in that we are county owned, which means the government owns and operates it. And so we do not have to make a profit. What we do is we aim to keep all of our rates neutral so that we cover our expenses. And so we have the ability to really invest in programs that are right by the environment, even if they don't make a profit. 95% of the landfills in the nation are privately owned. So there isn't a direct incentive to help the community. They are really driven to make money off of burying things, right? So if they started a thrift store, for example, there isn't a lot of money to be made in thrifting, but that would take away from a revenue stream, right? And so We modeled our program out of from Monterey County. They have a thrift store there, and they are also one of the few government-owned landfills. And that one is called the Last Chance Mercantile, and it's very similar. And so we went down there and we toured it, and we really modeled it after that. But really, very, very few operate the way that we do.
Oh, so like it's better, basically, it's better to buy something from like Goodwill rather than going to buying it brand new if you can.
If you can, yeah, you can't do that in all circumstances, right? But we really, really believe. I think there's a company out there called Savers, and they have a branding that I love. It's called Thrift Proud, right? Be proud to buy stuff at a thrift store, right? And so it is changing the dialogue, and I think more and more, people are catching on to like how many good products are at a thrift store, at a garage sale, or at a Goodwill, or at our Blue Barn, and they don't need to go and buy everything brand new. So yeah, it's true.
I've seen useful things like computer monitors, printers, and things when I have gone to them, like lots of useful things.
Yes.
Thank you so much for sharing with us.
You are very welcome. Thank you for having me here this morning.
Yeah.